This episode of Small Business Leaders Podcast is brought to you by Adams Lane Photography.
Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Small Business Leaders Podcast, brought to you from the Legacy Podcast Studio in Kernersville, North Carolina. My name's Lamar Powell, and my co-host is Audra Adams. And today in the studio, we have Chris Agee, who is the editor-in-chief of Scope News. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get started. We welcome to the table today Chris Agee, and he is the owner of Scope News. How would you define editor-in-chief?
I call myself the editor-in-chief, but yeah, I mean, technically I'm the owner too, so yeah. I can call myself whatever I want.
You can, yeah, when you own the business, for sure. Well, we've had several conversations probably over the last year, and I know just recently you and I sat down and talked to one another at length about what you do. I appreciate what you do here in Kernersville and in the Triad. It's been fun to watch. It's been a learning thing for me. I appreciate what you provide. And it's a lot of things that you write really get my attention. And I know just recently there's been a conversation about murals in our town, and that what you wrote was excellent. And the way you covered that was excellent. So I appreciate that. And I've been wanting to have you on here for some time, and we have you today.
It's so true.
Yes, we have, and we've talked about that at length, and so we kind of want to look at what you do and your background, and I'm going to use the word why you're so passionate about what you do.
That is fine.
That's one time.
That's
can't
one
use
time.
it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
welcome.
I'm really excited to be here. I appreciate the opportunity, and likewise, I've been following what you guys have been doing for a while now, and since the very beginning, and it is great. And like on the story about the murals too, your coverage on that has been really great.
Yeah.
Thank you. So let's deep dive just a little bit. So for our listeners and our viewers, I think that you're a very unique guest to kind of walk through how you started things. We've had a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, all of that on the show, but we've never had a journalist, and we've never kind of explored how is it a newspaper, right? Is it in physical form or just online?
So it is just online, but I started in this industry, local news, 25 years ago when more people were getting newspapers every morning, and that's where I started. To see your name the first time in a byline on print is a very big moment in a career, and I've been fortunate enough to work at several physical newspapers, but as you can see, these days it's just not. It's a shell of what it once was, and everybody's online all the time. Yeah. So I want them to. You don't have to go outside and pick something up and read through it. It should be at your fingertips, and that's what Scope News tries to provide.
Well, that's wonderful, and that's the vision and how things work, obviously now. But tell me a little bit about your history of how you started in all this. Like, where are you from? How did you come to be in Kernersville?
So I grew up, I was born and raised not too far north of here in Danville, Virginia. Oh, yeah. And so my first job was at the Danville Register and Bee. I started at the obituary desk, and I was in college at the time. My first year was a business major. Then second year, they for the first time, they offered journalism as a major. So I switched over, and that kind of sealed my fate. Then I was a junior, and I got the first job at the newspaper, and I was just like, I got to work at a news desk always. And
even if it's obituary?
Even if it's the obituary, that's where you get your licks in, and then you move on and you start to see your name in print and interview these cool people that are just involved in everything that makes a city work, and you feel like a bigger part of the community. You're actually engaged in what makes the community run, and so I've done that in Virginia, in South Carolina, in Texas, and most recently in Arizona. And then now I'm back here close to home, and it's good to be back. And I got here, and so I didn't find a job directly in local news, so I decided to make my own. And so Scope News was born.
That is awesome. So, did you always go to the news source that stayed around community focus?
That's my passion.
You get to say it.
You can say it.
You get to say it.
But it is local news. I mean, I feel like it's deprioritized these days, and people, everybody's interested in the sensationalist, national news, and there's plenty to follow there, and that's what I transitioned to for a big part of my career after local news kind of took a dive, the industry itself. So, but it always was at my heart to do what I was driven to do, and that's cover local news, because I think it's more important than ever. I think it's more important than a lot of people realize, and it receives less coverage than ever. So I wanted to do my part to do that. And I still have a day job, and it is focused on more national matters, but this is something that I'm devoting more and more of my time to.
So what does journalism mean to you? I'm going to go a little deep.
Wow.
Because in my lifetime, I've watched this crazy evolution. When I remember as a little kid, black and white TV, watching some of the first national things on television. I remember when JFK was shot.
Sure.
I was little. I remember that on TV, or the moon landing thing, whether that's legit or not. All the controversy about that. It's always fascinating to me. But you've watched this evolution, and it's evolving even now. We've seen that in dramatic ways, and so there's a lot of opinions and things on that. So journalism is a foundational thing in this country. First Amendment is all on that. The government, it deals with religion, deals with free speech, it deals with freedom of the press. That's foundational to this country. And I think we've watched through this evolution why that is so important. And we've seen it in other countries where a lot of that can be skewed, and it affects populations in entire nations. So it's a foundational, important thing. And it means a lot to me that it be done correctly. So I said all that. So what does journalism mean to you?
So I've never been asked to give my definition, but I think if I could put it into two words, I would call it the relevant truth. Yeah. So it needs to be relevant to whatever community you're serving. So for me, it needs to be relevant to Kernersville people and people who live on the outskirts. What will affect their lives, and it needs to be the truth. Yeah. You need to verify the sources, and that's what so much has been outsourced to. This person said, and I heard over here, and social media has diluted real journalism. So I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in talking to the people who are making the news and telling them what that person said to me. So you got to do the work. You got to make sure that what you're saying is the truth, and you have to make sure it's relevant to whoever you're telling it to.
I always wonder, is it hard to stay unbiased?
It's it's human nature to have biases. So on a fundamental level, sure, I think it would be hard for anybody to remain completely unbiased. But I think that local news kind of has a safeguard against that, especially like national politics, everybody's going to have an opinion on that. But locally, if you're truly focused on the good of the community, then you're gonna want what's best for the community, and that's your only bias. So mayors, aldermen, they come and go, but the community's here, and you're focused on that rather than the things that might change from day to day.
Sure. How do you find the stories?
That's a complicated question, because people have to know that you exist, which hopefully maybe more people will know to reach out to me after they see this interview. That's one upside. But I'm always on social media, following the Facebook pages for Kernersville. Certainly in contact with the Chamber of Commerce as much as possible. The people who are making the news, I want to check in on, and whether that's education, any of the beats that we cover. I have to be proactive and reach out and make sure that I'm not missing anything. And sometimes, things fall through the cracks, but you do the best you can.
Yeah. Wow. Gotcha.
I think also as well is, and again, we talked about the mural conversation. And one of the things we try to do is use that word versus a controversy, because we naturally want to go to that. But the idea is, and I think with journalism as well, is to help with the conversation, to find out what's best for a community and people's opinion. And they're going to vary. I'm sure there's people that don't care to do those murals for whatever reason. I think the majority of people don't mind that at all. But it's really being in a position to have a conversation, even if you don't agree. Let's talk about it and your views, and it gives us something to think about. And I think that's what I think for journalism, it is getting to the truth, stating the facts, and the different maybe viewpoints can be mixed in that. But I know for me it's been frustrating to watch some of this as it's unfolded through the years. And I'm not speaking for you, but I'm sure it is for you as a journalist involved in that type of thing.
Well, sure. The easiest way to let your bias show is by limiting the people that you talk to. So I think the easiest way to make sure that you're unbiased, or at least as much as possible, is to include as many perspectives as you can.
Yeah.
So you don't just talk to the people who are for it. If you're personally for it, that's fine. But talk to the people who are against it and let people make their own decisions.
Yeah.
Which I think is a dying breed right now, honestly. I mean, everything is presented in a way that is saying, this is how you should think. This is how you should come to your conclusion, instead of presenting, like we're talking about, facts, and then let people think. That is something that it really bothers me, because it starts from such an early age right now. I feel like it's a lot of propaganda in a lot of ways in certain networks, and I'm more talking about in national, news than community news. But I think that it can overlap also if you're not careful ethically. I think that it could infiltrate any news organization. But yeah, I think I'm tired of being told how to think.
I think the other thing too is there has to be a balance in all of this, because it doesn't matter. Because a lot of times we naturally won't take sides. And you see a lot of that, but there is even a problem with that, because whether you're on the left or whether you're on the right, that can be misused, I guess. The press could be misused. Journalism could be misused. And so I think that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, but I feel like you're a gem here. It truly is, in the way that you're
a relic.
speaking.
More, I think it's
No, I think this is something that can catch fire and truly be a template for other communities and other news magazines, whether newspaper. It's not a magazine. So what I want to know. Oh, you had a question?
No, I just think it makes you appreciate what Chris does for our local community, and it's very relevant and it's very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was your other?
So no, I'm going to move on to tell us from a business standpoint, how can Scope News make money?
Oh wow,
boy, let's discuss that. I'd love to have an easy answer. It's hard, obviously. Advertising is a big part of the answer. As with anything publishing related, especially on the internet, you're gonna have to have ads. I'm at the point now, summer's just over, so my son's back in school. I got a little more time to devote to this. But with my own 9-to-5 job and kind of working this in where I can, I haven't had the time to really explore that. But certainly, local people. We get a lot of views on Scope News.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that people come back and they read what we write. So if there is a local business who'd like a low cost marketing campaign, we can certainly provide that, whether it's a link in an article, a spot in our weekly newsletter, which subscribe to that if you haven't, whether it's a social media shout out or whatever it might be. There are opportunities that I think can meet even the smallest budgets. So we are starting to reach out to some of those people. And also we have ideas for deeper dive stuff about the history of Kernersville and longer form interviews with some of the people that we write articles about. That people, I want to keep the news free because I think people have a right to know what's going on. But if you want to dig a little deeper and you want to support local journalism, we're going to have those opportunities for a subscription that'll give you access to even more stuff.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea. So how do you go about it? So for our listeners, is that just phone calls, or how do you go about approaching to get advertising?
Well, a big part of that has been kind of laying the groundwork. I want people, I don't want to go cold call people and say, hi, I'm with Scope News, and they have no idea what Scope News is.
Yeah.
So I really want to do the legwork, and it's been a process 2 or 3 years in the making already, where I think a lot of people do. I introduce myself and they say, "Oh, we've seen you on Facebook, or we've seen you." And
yeah, I have.
It's so rewarding personally, but also professionally. I think that goes a long way toward increasing my credibility when I say, hey, would you like to advertise? They know that it's not going to be under some sensationalist article. It's going to be in a place where people already are local, first of all, and they trust the source that they're at.
And we live in a day, too, it's not just print, what's printed. You have all of these different opportunities, and I think you're taking advantage of it because I see that, where you actually are writing something that can be read, and it's read on social media and on the internet, but you also, I see you out in the community, you're videoing some events, you're posting that information, the different things that we do here in Kernersville. Those are things that you've presented, and you've done a great job with that. And you've also, I've seen video of interviews where if there was an event coming up or something special, that you've actually interviewed the people involved with that. That's on video. I know you're dealing with podcasting. I love the name of that, Microscope. It's a good play on Scope News. So you're doing all of those things.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So this is something so you have a podcast.
I do technically. It goes long periods between episodes, but yeah, when there is somebody that is doing something kind of so unusual and so awesome that I think it deserves more than just an article or a social media post, yeah, I'll sit down and talk to them for 15 minutes or so, and just to get usually to answer questions that I have that I assume other people in the community will.
I love that.
So yeah, it's Microscope. It's kind of just a side project now, but I do have fun with it.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Okay, so what I hear you say, and correct me wherever I might be wrong, is you spent the last 2 or 3 years building a foundation socially on social media and different things that business-wise, you're setting yourself up for a larger reach so that advertising would be more appealing because you have a farther reach in a what is it, like a base. You have a base that looks attractive.
Our audience is fairly substantial, and you can look at the one great thing about the internet. You can say what you will about social media and all that, but it tells me exactly where all these people are coming from, and the overwhelming majority are from Kernersville, and the ones that aren't are from Winston-Salem or High Point or Walkertown or these. So it's not. I want people to be able to see that before they advertise with me and say, these people are here. These are your potential customers that are seeing this. So that's a big thing that I think is a selling point. You're not just sending it out into the internet and who knows where it's going to go.
Right. And so that's the reason I'm asking these questions is so our listeners and our viewers can, jot that down, make a mental note of, hey, this is how I started. It was, it was from the ground, really.
Absolutely.
From the ground up
Absolutely.
is what happened. And you say we. Who's the we?
Okay, I'm glad you asked because I was hoping for an easy segue into this. Of course, it started with just me, and you can look at those early articles and see that there were sometimes a week or two without any content because I just didn't have the time in the day. But then Nicole Wetzel, who is a journalism student now and just phenomenal in every aspect of what she's contributed so far. She has volunteered just to get experience while she's going through college, experience that she wouldn't get just sitting in a lecture hall. But she has taken on the education beat for us. She does a lot of the stuff you like on social media. That's her. We didn't have TikTok before she came along. Our Instagram was basically just regurgitated stuff from Facebook, and she has made that an entirely new experience. So everywhere you go to see Scope News, it's a little bit different. So you don't feel like I've just seen this on this social media app. There's a reason to subscribe or to follow us on multiple platforms, and that's a big part because of her. She's been covering this the school board budget mess, all this stuff that people are really into, and she's just crushing it, man. Awesome.
How did you find her?
She found me.
Ah.
One of the biggest doses of encouragement I've ever received. She sent me an email out of the blue and said, "Well, I like what you're doing. I'd like to help out." And little did I know it would be just the key to really unlocking the growth that we've seen over the past year.
That's great. That's great.
So you're seeing that it's starting to take off right in the last year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well,
And I like too, because you're local. The landscape of journalism's changed so much. A lot of folks are moving. The business model is changing so much. But you are Kernersville, and I think that's awesome.
So I'm going to go back to, even if Nicole, after she finishes school, goes off somewhere else because of the way that your news is delivered, she could still do remote things, right?
Well, it is true. Sure, a lot of what we do is, especially if it's a phone call or something where you don't need to be on site to cover something, you could do what we do from pretty much anywhere.
Yeah,
I've gone on vacations and kept track of what's going on. So yes, certainly it gives you more freedom than showing up. There is something to be said for a newsroom where you pass ideas around and come up, but also the remote thing has its advantages too, for sure.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, the other question I had is, I would have to assume through the years that your interviewing skills grow, obviously. But were you just naturally like my daughter is, she's just nosy. She just wants to know everything about everything. What would you say you are? Do you just have a need for information, or you just want to understand? Just kind of lay that out for me a little bit.
I think that is an interesting way to put it, and that's probably to put my finger on it. I think that might be a big part of it, because I'm naturally a pretty shy person. I wouldn't ordinarily go knock on doors to ask people questions, but it is what comes after I ask the question. I'm going to know something that nobody else knows yet, and I'm going to tell those people what I found out. So it is, I mean, you're gossiping, but there's a good reason for it. And I think there is some there's some satisfaction in that.
Yeah. I told my daughter, she's going around, and everybody's supposed to know now. They put so much pressure on kids and teenagers to know what you want to do by the time you're 18, and some of them do and some of them don't, and because I have a wide variety of ages and they all are interested in different things, she came to me and she was like, I don't know what to do. I mean, it's nursing, teaching, all of those things, and it just didn't seem to fit her personality. And I was like, well, here's what I know. You're nosy. So to me, that screams private investigator or a detective or something like that. And she took that and ran with it. And now she is a cadet for the police department. And her ultimate goal is detective or private investigator kind of thing.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That is literally, after I retire, my plan is to moonlight as a private investigator. Yeah, absolutely. I've been looking forward to that my entire career.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, it's just interesting to figure out the process of what it takes to kind of do all that. But I didn't think about journalism. I may have some
another
kids,
conversation,
and not for her, but for one of the other ones in there for journalism. That might be a really cool thing. They're writers, so one day your plan is to be a private investigator, but is the other goal to be able to have Scope News sustain everything so you could stop the 9 to 5.
Absolutely. I mean, clearly that's what I'm working toward. It's gonna take a while to build up to that point. But luckily, like you mentioned, the remote thing, I'm able to do my work from home, so I can weave both of those things together and get some stuff done throughout the day. But yeah, when I'm able to make Scope News a full-time job, I think that it's gonna pay off in a lot of different ways.
Just keep working at it. Like, even if you don't see the results for a little while, what you've built right now is a strong foundation and a strong base, and you kind of have a rhythm. That's what I find. Would you agree with that to some extent?
It certainly, it becomes more of a, absolutely.
You get a rhythm. Even like here, us doing a podcast or us going on a photo shoot, used to, it was like, what do we do? Like, how do we, what pose or what question should you ask next? And after a while, you just get more, you gain the confidence to, do what many faceted things that we do here. And so that would be my question for you. Do you see that with what you're doing as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You become more comfortable, especially the more you see the same people, the more you cover the same developing stories. It becomes kind of second nature. And, at the root of it, I've never been an editor-in-chief before, but I've done pretty much every other job in a newsroom. So that kind of stuff is already second nature. So the new stuff where I'm actually the one kind of making the assignments and doing things like that, it's a process, but it becomes more comfortable every time you chalk one on the board.
Yeah, and you're making developing relationships
Definitely.
Throughout the community.
Yeah.
You're developing a trust factor with folks in the community. So I know all of that helps. What I want to know is, since you've been doing this, maybe is there an event or is there a story? Is there something that stands out to you that's maybe the most satisfying thing or impactful or the thing you've enjoyed the most over these last several years? I was
just ask that question.
Well, I took it from you. So.
I was going to ask that question though.
Well, it's not one story necessarily, but the thing that I look forward to the most is covering, ribbon cutting ceremonies. We haven't had ours yet, and I'm looking forward to that. And I feel like that's just such a big moment, not only in the life of a family that's starting a business, but also in the community who doesn't have to leave Kernersville to go to a new bakery or get a cup of coffee or whatever the business is that's opening. There's a lot of cool stuff in Kernersville that I think a lot of people overlook or they just haven't heard of yet. And so to be able to just spotlight what one person's doing in their business, or whether it's an expansion or a grand opening or anything, I find that rewarding, and I'm looking forward to having hours so that we can have one of those moments.
I love this area. I really do.
Yeah.
I've said it a million times on the show. I have.
I know.
I love Kernersville. I
here.
think it's unique. Yeah, you've heard it every time
heard it.
too. Yeah. And I like, and a lot of folks that we've had here and we've talked to feel the same way, and they really want this place to succeed. They want it to thrive and be a place people love to visit. Man, I just love it, and I want to see it succeed. And I know that's how you feel as well because of what you do and how you cover it.
Yeah. So what would be, if I had to ask you, or you had to say to our listeners, what's step 1, 2, and 3? Is there 3 steps to starting like what you've done, a news?
So first, go to college. No, I mean, I don't think that's.
Do you really think they need to go to college?
I think that there are some basics that you will probably only learn in an academic setting.
Okay.
But there's also a much lower threshold, I think, now that everything's online, to people who might want to just dip their toe into journalism. But I do think that there is something that comes with learning the craft from the ground up. But if somebody is just interested in sharing what's going on in their community, I would encourage that no matter what. And the first step is to know what you want to say, I guess, because before you start sharing news, I think you need to know what your goal is. Am I just doing this to have my voice out there, or am I doing this to actually share about something that I'm passionate in? Am I going to stick to one area, or am I going to try to do everything? So kind of setting up boundaries for what you want to accomplish. But then the most important, I guess, step 2 would be.
And if you don't have 3, that's fine.
No,
I know
I'll come up with 3. Don't worry.
I know I was putting you on the spot.
No,
but
improv is great.
Yeah.
Step 2, I guess, would be to meet people. That's the key to everything. The more people you know, the more you're gonna know, and the more you're gonna be able to share with other people. And I mean, third is to just get started. I didn't scope news. Doesn't really mean. I mean, I have an idea of what it means, but it was an idea that I had, and I just did it. I took the step and I started Scope News. I got on Facebook, and then it's grown from there. But you got to do it and keep doing it. You're not going to be everybody's favorite news source overnight. Nobody's going to know who you are, especially with as many different organizations trying to do this as there are right now. So just get your name out there and let people. You can't force them to trust you, but the longer you do it and the longer you remain trustworthy, the more people will.
Okay, there's so many great, awesome things that you just said in there. Really. And step 3, we've heard from every entrepreneur and business owners is like, just get started. Like that is the biggest thing. And I can see why you would say an academic kind of background for what you're doing. Even if it's just, and I have no idea, but even if it's just grammar, even if it's
that's what I'm thinking, English classes, grammar.
Well, there's style. The thing that I think a lot of people don't know too much, unless you're in the industry, is there is a style to news reporting. It's completely different than writing. I dabble in prose and what other things that I write on the side, but news writing is its own beast. You have different style guides. Scope News has its own in-house style guide that's based on Associated Press style, which is kind of the Bible of the industry. So you have to know these things and how when to say allegedly, and when because you can get in a lot of trouble through slander, through any of these things that are real no-nos. So you have to be aware of all the possible pitfalls before you really get into it, because people who are just spouting off on social media can say things that will bite them in the long run.
We're seeing a lot of that too.
Yes, we are.
Landscape's changing quite a bit.
Yep.
What do you see? We talked early on about how all of this has evolved. Where do you see journalism going? Because I mean, it's changing. We've seen the rise of these podcasts that have massive followings and obviously great influence on things, and it's just flipping the lid on the networks and the news media. You're seeing it. I mean, it's just coming to pass right now. What do you see? How do you see things going?
Well, on one hand, I'm encouraged because there are more ways than ever for people to get their news, and I think that people, the more we see, you can call it fake news, misinformation, whatever, the more people are aware that stuff is out there, I think the more savvy they're becoming to find sources that they trust. And if you have 2 or 3 local sources that you can trust, go to those people, and whatever people are saying on social media or these other sites that may or may not be reputable, you have somewhere to go to fact check that yourself instead of relying on what somebody else says. But on the other hand, I'm concerned because misinformation is taking a different form now with artificial intelligence, and it's becoming harder than ever to really suss out what's happening. So I think that local news doing what I do and so many other local reporters do is more valuable than ever because we're the ones going to the first person source. We're not developing anything on the internet. It's coming from the real world and we're putting it on the internet. But if you go, who knows if it's right? If you AI what's happening in Kernersville this weekend, who knows if any of that stuff is actually happening in Kernersville this weekend? So people are becoming more, I think, intellectually lazier, if I can say that. I think that they're just relying on whatever AI tells them is true. It's not that simple.
And I don't know the answer to that problem. I think I see it just snowballing. Yeah. And it's a little concerning. And it does make some of the movies I watched as a child, like how they, take the blue pill or the red pill, which one, those kinds of things are very interesting to me. So I'm on a little bit high alert. My little antennas are up.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more question for me. Do you have a group of other local journalists that are spread across the country? Do you have any type of community within a journalistic way?
So there is actually. I'm no longer a member. I was for a while when I was working with under a larger organization, the Online News Association, which kind of does represent people in local newsrooms and larger newsrooms, as long as they're primarily an online news organization. So that is kind of a 21st century solution to a problem that has kind of defined journalism for the past couple of decades. But we're not associated with any larger organization. Technically, Scope News is part of my company, Inform Media Group, but beyond that we're just us.
Okay, well, I love it. And I wonder, rate us on our interviewing skills.
Oh, God. On a scale of what to what?
I don't know.
A plus.
A plus.
I've had a great time. This has been like so low pressure. I feel right at home here, and I love all the interviews you guys have done. You always put your guests at ease, and I can speak from experience now that that's true. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to say thank you so much for what you're doing. It is so impactful. It is so needed. Please don't stop. And I hope that everybody that's out there that's listening or watching, that you'll subscribe to Scope News. Tell us, do you have it?
Tell us
how to do that.
Tell us how to do that. And I know you're on different platforms. I know you have a website.
We do. So scopenewsonline.com is our main website. But if you look at the handle is Scope Newsfeed on everything. So at Scope Newsfeed on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm probably missing one or two, but pretty much anywhere that people are.
I don't know. Maybe Snapchat.
I don't think we're on Snapchat. Maybe we'll look into that. I'll talk to Nicole. We'll see.
Yeah, talk to her. I don't know anything about it. But yes, the subscription is only going to help move things along, and just watch and comment. Does that those comments, does that help you?
Oh, it's so helpful. I mean, you can tell when a story really resonates and people start to comment, it spreads like wildfire. It is amazing to see. You call it viral. You know, locally some of the stuff does become viral, and it's only because people engage with it. So if you see something you like, let us know. If you don't like it, you can let me know privately, but no, let us know what you think of everything we put out there for sure.
Well, I just, again, thank you for coming. Do you have anything?
No, I appreciate what you're doing. Again, props out to you, and you're doing a great job. I'm glad you've come in today.
Yes, me too. And with that, we're going to say see you next time. Follow Legacy Podcast Studio on all the platforms except for Snapchat. Are we on TikTok?
No. Yes.
Okay, we're on TikTok. And if you see or hear anything in this particular setting that you like, and you are a business owner or you're an entrepreneur or you're any type of person who, I'm just flailing over here.
Yeah, you are.
I'm really flailing, and it's okay. I got to go to the beach.
You are going to the beach.
I'm going to go to the beach.
I'm happy for you. Not really.
If you see anything and you want to come on here and let us kind of suss that out. I like that word. I'm taking it from you. We would love to have you. So with that, we'll say see you next time.
See you next time.